First of all, you want financial freedom and you're not having it because most businesses are effectively not profit. I said, but the other two can't be achieved without financial freedom. You're making no money and you're going to be able to go and do what you want, travel around and no, you have to serve the business. And if the business needs you 99% of the time and you're making no money, how can you ever have impact?
Right.
So we have to start off with the financial foundation.
Hey, I'm David Richter. I'm the host here of the Profit First REI podcast, coming to you again with Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, which I am super excited because we've done a few episodes together. This is my first time meeting him in person, which is absolutely incredible. He is a wonder at all things business because, Mike, you've written more than just Profit First. How many books in total have you written now?
10 business books, 1 children's book.
Oh, children's book. Tell me about that one.
It's called My Money Bunnies. And is a sneaky way actually to teach adults about money.
That's awesome.
Because when you're teaching your child, like, this is how you manage money, you got to do it yourself. You're
Yeah.
held accountable. And it's Profit First, simplified even further for kids to do.
Which is very cool because we all need that. That's why we're even doing this podcast. That's why we're here today.
Yeah.
Because a lot of business owners are not true business owners. Like they are more of they're good at the thing. A lot of people get into real estate and they're good at the deal. They can go out there, they can get on the call, they're really good face-to-face with the seller, really identifying what's the problem here? How can I solve this problem? Do they need someone to just take a horrible house off their hands that they can never sell on the market? Or are they a retired landlord that doesn't want this property anymore or tenants anymore? Yeah. So they can go in there and do that. But then the business end of things kind of gets screwed up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You know, the biggest challenge is the way they see themselves.
Okay.
So they see themselves as a master craftsperson.
Yeah.
I'm so skilled at this. This is my talent. And a classic example is like a salesperson in an organization. They're so good at the craft of sales that the rest of the organization says, well, you should be the sales manager. You should be overseeing the sales department. Mm-hmm. And the salesperson themselves says, yeah, I'm so good at sales. Yeah. Clearly.
You should do this.
But it's a whole different skill set.
Right.
You're not selling the deal. Now you're managing a team. And inevitably, many of those people collapse in that role because it requires them to be different. Well, entrepreneurs have the exact same thing. An entrepreneur is defined as someone that hustles and grinds, sacrifices family and friends, anything to make this business successful. And therefore, they lean into identity, and it's the worst thing for the business because now all you're doing is working in the business, so much so that you become the linchpin. The business can't survive without you. So what I tell people, and it's very odd for them to say this, but Mike, the next time you're talking to someone, they say, what do? Do not say you're a business owner. Do not say you're an entrepreneur. I love those terms, but don't say that. Say you're a shareholder of a business. And they're like, what does that mean? Well, I'm a shareholder in Ford. I own some stock. When they send distribution checks, I don't like call Ford and say, I don't deserve this money. I'm going to return it to you. And I don't go to the factory to earn it. I say I'm a shareholder. I've taken risk. I've invested in your business. I hope it increases in value, but it may decrease. This is a reward to me. A shareholder is someone who shares in the profitability because they made the investment risk and gives strategic direction. I vote, we should hire these people on the board. We should build the new building, like the shareholders vote. That's what we do. So starting today, call yourself a shareholder, which is going to be very weird. Keep saying that until the day you actually feel it and believe it. And then when you feel and believe it, you'll start behaving that way.
So it's that identity shift from either solopreneur even and entrepreneur, business owner to more of a shareholder because they're actually a shareholder in their own business.
Correct.
Because they're the one obviously making a lot of the decisions. And at the end of the day, if there is profitability, a lot of people don't usually tap into their profitability. They don't even have good systems for the profit or anything like that. So it's taking that identity shift first and then taking it to the next level of now we need the systems in place so we are profitable. So, okay, tell me about if they make that identity shift, what would be their next step in this journey?
Well, first realize there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on here because to call yourself a shareholder and then be all in on that only when you still have a brand new business, that's not going to work.
Okay.
So you can't. You are going to say I'm a shareholder, and then you ask yourself, what's a shareholder do? Well, they make strategic decisions and direction, and they share in the profit, but they don't do the work. I don't work at Ford's factory.
Right.
But the reality is, Ford has hundreds of thousands of employees.
Right.
Your business may just have 2 or 3.
Right.
So you may have to go back in there, but realize you are putting on a different hat. And I have a guy, I make him put on a different hat. It's actually a vest. It's a vest. Yeah. So he's got a vest it's a pink vest of all things, like a workman's vest.
Yeah.
And I say, the reason we picked that, it's his least favorite color. I said, when you're going to work inside your business, put this vest on to realize you are playing a different role that's necessary. And you are not the shareholder. You are ex-employee number, whatever. you're an employee in this capacity. And the second you leave and you're back to shareholder, we're taking that thing back off just to bifurcate those things out. So what people have to realize is you are going to have to insert yourself in the business.
Yeah.
But if you carry that one persona across all roles, you're going to kind of blend them together and see that as part of your role. This is a translation roughly from a book by Todd Herman called The Alter Ego Effect. And what he shared, what athletes do, the most elite athletes, is when they step on a stage or step on the field or whatever it is, that they see themselves as a different character. And there is usually he calls it a totem, but some kind of device. Martin Luther King, before he'd do a speech to get into the zone, would put on a pair of glasses. He actually didn't need glasses. He would put them on to show that he was a new character. Superman would take off his glasses and rip it off. So what is the character shift you make? And if you can make it a physical shift also, you'll have that realization you're playing a role until you don't have to play that role anymore.
So then a lot of entrepreneurs or real estate investors, they look at themselves, I'm a real estate investor, or I am a good deal maker.
Yeah.
Like I can go out there and get the deal. So that's usually their identity.
Yeah.
Then if they add to it the shareholder, but then they also have to think of themselves of like, okay, I am the shareholder, but then I work in the business. So when I do that, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Then I'm also, the connector, whatever, as far as the real estate industry goes. I did want to ask, when you're managing your money, which identity do you put on? Is that shareholder? Or is it a combination of a couple?
Shareholder when I'm managing money.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing work in my business, because I also do work in my business, so I almost sound hypocritical. I have a mnemonic. I'm actually wearing it right now. This bracelet is a tool for me. When I'm on stage speaking, I will turn it like this, tighten it, and the silver parts are up.
Yeah.
And I call it EAP. EAP stands for Eradicate Entrepreneurial Poverty.
Nice.
It's my life's mission.
Yeah.
And so when I put this in, I'm like, okay, I'm going into the deep EAP state.
Deep EAP.
The deep EAP state, which is bizarre, but right before I go on stage.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, I loosen up again and let it kind of flop around.
Okay.
So it's a crazy mnemonic technique, but it's effective. We can play a role hardcore for a certain period of time, but if we play that hardcore role all the time, we become hardened around it. So the shareholder role is another capacity of mine, and while I don't have a mnemonic physically on it, I'll usually do it in a certain space. I have two offices. You saw the one here.
Yeah.
I also have an office down the road from here. I'll go in that space, and that's when I'm in that state of being a shareholder.
Yeah.
So I use space or mnemonics to trigger that. You got to add that label though. And for me, it's the primary label. What's your primary choice? So you can say I'm primarily a deal maker, and you're going to lean more into that.
Right.
I say I'm primarily a shareholder who also speaks.
Yeah.
That's how I
That
do it.
makes sense. So that way they can think of themselves, what is going to get you the real end result that you're wanting? Because if you just want more deals, but you don't care about the money, then you're probably going to lean into deal maker. But if you care about, at the end of the day, your financial freedom, like what everyone really wants from entrepreneurial and from being a business owner is really that shareholder of being, okay, I want the distributions. I want to make sure that your life is getting better as you're building this business as well too, and that you are being a responsible shareholder of the money. And so that comes with being very intentional with that profit and making sure that you have every dollar named. And that's what Profit First is all about, making sure that you have a system in place. So that's where being that shareholder, it sounds like you would be very intentional with the profit.
Very intentional with the profit, because that's what shareholders need to do. There is, in most large corporations, a sign up that says our responsibility is to return money to the shareholder or earn money for the shareholder.
Yeah.
It's shareholder dividends and stock valuation. That's the primary objective. And there's some hate around that. Like, well, isn't the business's primary objective to serve the customer? You can't serve the customer unless you are profitable.
Right.
Like it is the essence of the stability of an organization. So it is the primary focus. And what I love about large organizations, even though I don't aspire to have one, is the only way to become a large organization is to be financially responsible.
Yeah.
They have payroll for usually hundreds of thousands of employees. They have to do all these different things. And their number one edict is to care for the shareholder. So let's follow that principle. Maybe you aspire to have a large company or maybe not, but they figured out fiscal management. And the edict is always the shareholder must be cared for. So when you're putting that shareholder role on, you've got to care for the profitability. You happen to be the exclusive shareholder in many cases, so you benefit from that. But it also brings stability to your organization and so forth.
I always think it's funny that we set up these for-profit businesses, and then we're putting profit last. Like I think we need to write a parody book called Profit Last and just tell all the stories about all those things.
Yeah.
We
could call it Profit Last, the story of almost every business on this planet.
Exactly. And then it leads into profit first. But so many people do that and they're not intentional with the profit. And that's where a system like this helps them to come and to terms with that and then gives them actual steps to become intentional. That's why I love that it's a system. That's where I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad and like The Richest Man in Babylon, all those have a lot of the same things. Because like you said, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
It's like these core concepts. And with what you did, though, it's more of the how-to. Like, okay, pay yourself first, but here's how. And
exactly.
Like, how to be a good shareholder, here's how. And I do think it's funny. We run these for-profit businesses, but then we focus on profit last, but then we become unintentional nonprofits. Like, like we push ourselves into that nonprofit territory. And it's like, well, if you want to do that, you should just set up a nonprofit from the beginning.
I know.
This is where if it's a for-profit business, your profit can fuel your purpose. Like it can fuel the other things in your life that you're wanting to do. And if you're profitable, like you said, you're taking care of your employees. You're doing the things that really matter to you. But if you're not profitable because you've got the hang up, it's like, okay, let's take a step back. What are we really trying to accomplish with this business then?
When I do speaking engagements, I'll survey an audience and I always ask this question. I say, tell me the reason or reasons you started a business. And prior to asking them on a whiteboard, I'll write it down and then cover it with like a sticky thing,
Yeah.
and then reveal it. I'm going to say, I'm going to guess the reason you started a business. Top number one answer is for financial freedom. People start a business because they don't want to worry about bills.
Exactly.
Number two, and usually they're very close, is personal freedom. I want to have flexibility in my life, do what I want when I want. Third reason, I want to have impact. I want to serve community. I want to serve purpose of significance. My employees, our world, our globe. And I said, this is the top three, right? I say, first of all, you want financial freedom and you're not having it because most businesses are effectively not-for-profits. I said, but the other two can't be achieved without financial freedom. You're making no money and you're going to be able to go and do what you want, travel around and no, you have to serve the business. And if the business needs you 99% of the time and you're making no money, how can you ever have impact?
Right.
So we have to start off with the financial foundation.
Yeah. And that's where, even with what we do in Simple CFO, that's what we call the first 30 to 60 days is laying that financial foundation. Like you need to make sure that you've got a few key pieces in place. And one of them is profit first, knowing where every dollar's going, being very intentional with the profit. That way you can take money home and not feel guilty about it. You can make sure that you're building financial freedom. You might not have what your ideal life is right now, but you can start getting glimpses of it by actually taking that profit out and putting it towards those things. I'll never forget your ice cream story, right?
Yeah.
In your book, like the first ice cream that you had with your profit account was like $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like the best Dane ice cream cone that you've ever eaten because it was your money.
That's the funniest thing. So I've been doing studies around this of where do we get more joy? What's the thing? And so the question is, do things give us joy? And the answer is yes. Sometimes very short periods of time, like you get that new car, sometimes a little bit longer, but most acquisition of things do give us a surge of joy. So I said, okay, what gives us the most joy? Is it the new car? Is it the new house? And the answer is it's all basically the same. As long as there's no guilt associated with it, because that's the joy destroyer. So when I got that ice cream for $10, that was the full profit account. It was the best freaking ice cream of my life.
Yeah.
And because there was no guilt associated with it. When I got my first car with the profit account, it was the most joyous thing because the car was my possession. But the car I bought prior to that, I had debt associated with it. It was joyous for a second because I had this, but then the overwhelming responsibility to find a way to pay for this was burning me. And that was not joyous. So it's not the thing you get, it's the freedom you have once you've acquired it, that there's no responsibility beyond the acquisition of it.
Yeah, that's so good. And there's a book out there that's really good from Morgan Housel, The Art of Spending Money. And he's like, if you buy anything, then you will be as joyous as you are before you buy that thing, usually, like because of your expectations. Yeah. So yes, it will increase it for that, but that's because you've allowed it to as well.
Yeah,
and
100%.
A lot of people we don't manage our expectations right, and especially in the business. How many times do we expect like, oh, I just got this big deal, just close. Oh, I'm going to feel great and then the money's gone a month later or a week later.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what's happening here? Why don't I like my business as much as I think I should have or would have, getting into this at the beginning? And a lot of people just don't understand. If you're intentional with that profit, you can have
100%.
if you can have the systems in place, you can have those things on the long term. And now you don't have to worry about the money, because that's really, you don't want to worry about the money as a business owner.
Correct. I know business owners that are literally taking home millions. So we talked about one of these episodes, it's not about what you make, it's about what you take.
Yeah.
There's another step. It's how well you manage what you take.
Yeah.
So I know business owners truly taking home millions of dollars a year, and I've never seen such stressed people.
Oh, wow.
Because they put so much burden on themselves.
Yeah.
And I know business owners are taking home $50,000 a year, which, by the way, is the average earning of an American, is $50,000 a year. And I see people making $50,000 a year that are extremely happy because they've managed their money. I've now put terms to it. So there's this term financial freedom that exists.
Yeah.
And how it's roughly defined is that you never have to worry about bills. Do whatever you want, and there's no financial worry associated with that. That's financial freedom. But the reality is financial freedom is a moving target.
Yeah.
You and I could take and
100%.
say, let's go to the beach for a week and just hang out, bring our families and stuff. It'll be fun. And we don't have to worry about the bills. Or we could say, let's go to the beach in the Caribbean on our private jet with our family.
Yeah, exactly.
Not worrying about the bills is financial freedom. But there's a certain point for both of us that we won't be able to do that without financial stress that puts us in a downward state. So financial freedom is inaccessible because it's a moving bar. There's another term, financial independence. And how I define it is financial independence is where money doesn't control you, you control and assert authority over money. It's where you know whatever dollar is doing and what you have available to do with it. It's working within your means, but it's by asserting authority and control over it. And so I believe every business owner needs to achieve financial independence. And it's available to anybody at any income level. And once you do, your joy factor is now addressed, at least from the financial aspect.
Yeah.
Because you're not worrying about money. You know what you have to work with. Then as you earn more money, that's a wonderful thing. It can give you access to so many more things. But gosh, if you don't have financial independence in place, you'll never achieve any form of financial freedom.
I love that. And I love that you said control, because I think that's what Profit First brings to at least the cash flow management piece. It's like making sure you have control of your money, because if you don't control it, it's going to control you.
Yes.
And the feeling you get from that is confidence. Like, you don't have to be chaotic and squirrely brained anymore. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, you could be very confident in where the money's going, where it's coming from. Yet we talked about in the past, yellow flags versus red flags, like knowing something's coming down the pipeline or something's off with your cash. So being able to be that business owner and that shareholder that's really understanding, okay, this is what I need from the business. This is how much I have. This is where the profit's coming from and going to. And then knowing that that can buy your financial independence. I like how you said that, because freedom is such a moving target.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I love your analogy. It's like private jet versus just going there commercial. It's like, okay, there's both there. But for us, financial independence would be just hanging out and having that flexibility in that time. And how we got there, it's like, okay, we live within the means of what we have right now. And I really like that, because a lot of people start Profit First and they think, oh, this is good for the business and the system. But taking that into your personal life and saying, okay, what can I really do in order to make my life what I thought it would be as when I got into being an entrepreneur? So being able to have that, and that's why I like what you said at the beginning, that shareholder mentality. The profitability is that reward.
There's a new term circulating, and I'll probably bastardize it. It's called out loud budgeting, I think. And what it is say, you and I are talking about going out to dinner tonight. I'm like, hey, David, you up for going out to dinner? Out loud budgeting is saying, actually, I'm choosing not to go out to dinner tonight because I don't have the money budgeted for it. It's saying the truth, where historically the socially appropriate thing to say,
I can't make it tonight.
I can't make it.
I've
Right.
got other plans.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which allows us to have these excuses and not address the real thing. So it's a dance. And so out loud budgeting is just saying the fact. And it brings confidence actually to both of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to do, to be out loud about it. Maybe not with others initially, but at least in our mind, saying, I can't go because of financials. And then I think the next step maybe is being courageous about it and saying, I'm not doing this because I'm not prepared financially to do it. And once you start becoming public, you realize you're not judged about it. Could you imagine I call you up and say, hey, I want to go to dinner? And you're like, you know what? I'm choosing not to this time because I just don't have the budget for it. I'll probably come back and say, well, hey, you want to hang out at your place? Like, we'll find an alternative. It starts a negotiation for what's economically viable for both of us.
Yep.
And I may say, you know what, thanks, David. I don't have enough money either. I just thought you like to go out. I'd rather hang out at your place.
Yeah,
Let's get some
that's
popcorn
great.
and enjoy a movie. So I think what we find is what we're afraid of being judged about financially, we won't be.
Yeah.
And when you're courageous about it, it gives you so much more confidence.
Okay. Oh, I love that. Being direct, being open and understanding, and then knowing where that money is coming from, going to, then you can be direct. And like, you also are opening the door. like you said, for them to be able to back out, but then for them to be able to ask you a good question. Like, okay, so do you really live your life by a budget? Like, how do you do that and not kill yourself? You know,
It's
and
true.
like so many people out there. So it opens up other doors too as opportunity to help someone else as well. So I love that suggestion. So from this episode, we really want you to think of yourself more of a shareholder in addition to the other hats that you're wearing.
right.
That's probably one you've never thought about before, is being a shareholder in your own business. That will help you shift that identity from just being this business owner to shareholder in your company, actually sharing in the profits. So that way, when you set up profit first, you can actually take those profits and get towards your financial independence. So, Mike, this is so awesome. I love this. If you need help and you need help implementing, you could go to simplecfo.com. That's where we have our services to be able to, whether it's bookkeeping or CFO or taxes, like we want to make sure that the finances aren't the main issue in your life and in your business, and we can help you set up those systems. Mike, again, thanks for being on the show.
It's been a joy, brother.
That's it for today's show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share this episode. If you're serious about financial systems and keeping more of your profit, visit simplecfo.com to take your free discovery call today.